everyone, my name is Amber, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing One of Us is Next by Karen M. McManus. One of Us is Next is the sequel to One of Us is Lying, and I will be spoiling that first book, so please don't watch this video if you care about the ending to that one at all. If you have read the first book, then you may remember that the Bayview Four kind of won at the end and they figured out what was happening, that Simon had actually killed himself and they were all off the hook. In this sequel, it doesn't actually follow those four characters, which I wasn't expecting. It's following the younger, not generation, but a group of younger people who have now aged up because time has passed. The original four are now either working or in college, and so we have a whole new cast of characters who are also involved in something mysterious and deadly. Because this book is a thriller, I don't really want to go into the summary too much because I prefer to go into my thrillers quite fresh. So I will just say that in this one there are three main points of view, and these characters are affected by a new game that has come to light involving gossip around Bayview. I'm just going to put it out there right away. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I think Karen M. McManus is a fantastic thriller writer and I'm really excited to see what she comes out with next. When it comes to YA thrillers, I think she is just top notch and I am so glad that I discovered her books. I'm just going to quickly talk about the plot of One of Us is Next. So this was a really easy read. It jumped right into the story and it was very engaging. I found the idea of the whole truth or dare game that the teenagers were involved in to be very intriguing, and it was very interesting to see how the game was going to escalate and when or how something bad was going to happen, because you knew it was going to. It's a thriller book, something awful was bound to happen at some point. I did find some parts of this book to be very creepy and I found some parts of it to be very overly dramatic. I feel like especially towards the end things escalated and went a bit over the top, but that didn't really detract me from the story at all or ruin my enjoyment. I just thought it's something worth mentioning because it's not very realistic necessarily. But that said, I really didn't mind, so I'm cool with it. Because I didn't read the synopsis of this one before going in, I didn't realise that it was going to be a separate story to Simon's and the original group of 4 characters. I actually really enjoyed what McManus did here. I really enjoyed that it was a really separate story while still also being related to Bayview and the characters who were sort of involved in the first book. I think if this one had been a direct continuation with the same characters, it would have felt a bit overdone and dry and it just wouldn't have been as good. When it comes to the twists, I did see one of them coming. I figured it out quite early on just because of a few things that were mentioned, but other things I was very wrong about and I was really happy with that. The author threw a few red herrings in there while also laying the groundwork for the twists that were going to come up, so it all made sense in the end. Everything just made so much sense and the author did such a good job with writing and pacing this thriller. The plot structure did remind me a bit of Ruth Ware's books. If you've read any of those, then while reading this you'll probably see some parallels with how both of the authors structure their plots and introduce red herrings and introduce their characters. They have a very similar style, and because Ruth Ware is in my opinion, a very good author, I really enjoyed finding the comparisons between her styles and Karen McManus's. I'm just going to quickly talk about the characters. So like I said, there were 3 main points of view. The first one is Maeve, who is the younger sister of Bronwyn, who's one of the original Bayview 4. You may remember that Maeve was involved in the Simon stuff in the first book, so now she is a bit older. The second point of view is Phoebe, who I can't remember if we met in One of Us is Lying. She lives with her now widowed mother and her 2 siblings. And then there is Knox, who is Maeve's ex-boyfriend, but they're also really good friends still, and that was really nice to read about. So those are the main 3. I have to say that I really enjoyed the new cast and I really enjoyed the way that their relationships changed and grew throughout the book. Maeve and Knox obviously had an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend relationship going on while also trying to be best friends. And then Phoebe was kind of the outsider, but she got to know the 2 other main characters as the book progressed and it was just really nice to read about. I really enjoyed reading about their relationships. When I realised that this book wasn't going to be about the original 4 characters, I was a little tiny bit hesitant because that just isn't what I was expecting. But to be honest, I read One of Us is Lying so long ago when it first came out that I didn't feel any connection to the original characters at all. And while I did appreciate the cameos that all of them made, I just didn't really mind that they weren't the main feature of this book. I really liked that the other 3 were. I'm really glad that the author introduced new characters and a new storyline that again was related to Simon's antics but was mostly separate. I did at times get a bit confused about whose point of view I was in, because the three characters sounded very, very similar, and I had to kind of wait for context within certain scenes to figure out who was actually speaking. And I also got a bit confused because the cast of characters, secondary characters, is absolutely huge, and I couldn't keep track of who was related to who. In the beginning I had to keep reminding myself, and I kind of wished I had taken notes, because that would have made things a lot easier, because Phoebe had siblings, Maeve obviously had siblings, Knox had siblings, and then these guys also all had love interests and friendship groups that weren't the same. So the cast of characters was absolutely huge, and while it wasn't a massive issue, I did want to mention that I got a bit confused. So definitely try to read this one while you're awake. To wrap all this up, One of Us is Next is everything you want from a YA thriller. Karen McManus is a very talented writer, and she's definitely writing in the correct genre for her. One of Us is Next is full of mystery and action and relationships, friendships, drama, gossip, everything you'd want, and it also gets very creepy and eerie at times. And then the twists at the end were also really, really well done. I'm really happy with how the whole book panned out, and I'm just really impressed by how Karen McManus pulled off this story. And to top it all off, this book broke my reading slump, which I was getting into because I was reading some really average books at the beginning of the month. But then I picked up this one and I expected it to be fast-paced, and it was, and now I'm cured and I can read whatever I want. That's my review of One of Us is Next. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, would highly recommend it, so go and pick it up. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm trying to do more reviews in 2020, so I'm going to link a couple of my most recent ones so you can go and check those out. I will be speaking to you all in my next video. Bye!